Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It looks like today, March 14th, AMC has voted yes to approve a 10-for-1 reverse stock split, to authorize 25 million additional more shares, and to let AMC have free reign to dilute the hell out of us to raise as much capital as they would like, up to $11 billion to put a specific number on it. Well, not so fast. The court proceedings are going to take place on April 27th, where the Allegheny County Pension Fund basically says that we did not have a vote. By we, I mean AMC shareholders, that the 8 votes controlled the vote. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next video and go over exactly what could happen on core and the scenarios essentially that could play out after the court proceedings April 27th. But I want everyone to know, from now until April 27th, nothing is really going to happen. You're not going to see a reverse stock split. You're not going to see more shares authorized into the markets, more equity raises, I should say. You're not really going to see anything happening. Now, AMC is down about 15% here today, and this could sharply be reversed as the odds of this court date going the way of AMC as a business, right? They want this vote to happen. It's probably not going to be entertained in a courtroom. Like I said, we'll entertain that and talk about that more in the next video and get into actual scenarios here. But here today, guys, we got to be real with ourselves. The stock is down 15%. In all reality, was this not expected? I mean, everyone that I've talked to, that I've interacted with, expected this vote to come back as a yes, because Intera Capital owned almost 40% of the voting power alone to pass this initiative, let alone the other institutions, hedge funds that also owned APE and were short on AMC that wanted this to go through. It didn't take many institutions, including Intera Capital, to vote yes on this to get this proposal to go through. Pretty known information, right? So in regards to that, I think this is way overblown with AMC today, because after all, you have over a month and 2 weeks until any court is going to rule on this. So what that means likely in the very short term, throughout the rest of this week, throughout the next couple of days, likely means a sharp bounce the other side. Now, AMC is actually holding up pretty well today in regards to the actual yes vote. Now, we'll talk about that as we get to the technicals. If we take a look at the Ortex data, AMC down about 16% at the time of recording this video. You do have about 25 minutes left of the trading day, so do keep that in mind. If you do get a sharp drop or sharp rally in the markets towards the close, which you typically do tend to see, the percentage AMC is down or up, might change for that matter. But the live short interest of free float sitting at about 24%, 123.3 million shares that are currently sold short. Cost bar average 257.8%, cost bar max 268.5%. Cost bar minimum at about 39%. Now, I pointed out in the last video, the volatility is not over. Today is just a blip in the road, essentially a speed bump, as you could probably rightfully say. Even if you look at the cost bar rates, they're not plummeting. It's still showing you that there's going to be a lot of volatility. And from my expectations, especially with the court proceeding that will be taking place April 27th and the time difference we have until then, I do expect a sharper bounce than not. And maybe we don't get back to those levels that we were at a couple of days ago over the next couple of days. Maybe it does take a week or two. Maybe we do need to get some more news, and that didn't even sound right, some more news on this litigation process and more analysts commenting on this, because this is the first day that you got a yes vote. We need to see, do articles start to come out? Do people start to have more doubt that this will pass through the courts? That will ultimately dictate where AMC is going to go until April 27th, until we actually do get a court that does listen to both sides of this. Now, if you take a look at the option activity for today, not a huge shocker. 93 orders totaling $22.16 million, positive order value of 1%. 1%. Now, today is a pretty bullish day overall in the markets. It's not a terrible day, but some bank stocks are really not holding up all too well. So it doesn't necessarily look like all is over with the banking sector, and that is definitely not helping out AMC at all today as well. A lot of stocks that are deemed more risky are still on a downside move. It's not like you have a risk on move across the board and AMC is down 15%. So I do think that is also weighing against AMC here today. If we take a look at the FTDs, that situation is far from over, as you do have millions and millions of FTDs that do come due. Today, you had about 2.4 million FTDs that come due. Tomorrow, it's going to ramp up again to 3.4. The day after that, to almost 4 million. And Friday at 6.8 million FTDs. So there's going to be a lot of buying pressure over the next couple of days throughout this option expiration to get potentially a bounce from here. Now, speaking of option activity, look at it, guys. In the money calls at about 4,200, out the money calls at 704,000. In the money puts at 337,000, and out of the money puts at 837,000. Now, given there still is presumably going to be some doubt that this court proceeding is not going to hold up April 27th, you're likely to see a lot of volatility throughout the rest of this week, especially when you have an option expiration that is so big like the one that we are seeing here this Friday. It can give you very dramatic moves, and that's what I do expect over the next couple of days. And you do have a little bit more economic data. Now, the inflation report pretty much came in on expectations, showing you are seeing a slight acceleration again month over month pretty much across the board. Which I don't think is going to be a good sentiment over the next couple of days, needless to say. Now, tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning, you are going to get retail sales month over month for February. You are expecting a negative 0.2% reading. And then for PPI month over month, you are expecting a 0.4% reading. So a slight, contraction from last month's reading in January of a 0.7% rise, and core PPI month over month, you're expecting again 0.4%. Last month's reading was 0.5%, so you're still expecting some pretty big economic data to come out tomorrow that could also move the markets. If this gives you a bullish reaction, it might help out that bounce that I do expect AMC to get over the next couple of days, really heading into Friday. I don't think this just drop today is going to mark a long-term downside move for AMC. I think that'd be pretty hard to see as of right now from my perspective. Now, on Thursday, you're going to get building permits preliminary numbers for February coming out at 8:30 in the morning. It's highlighted in red. It's as a major volatility catalyst. I'm not convinced that is going to be the case. Hey, but we'll see. Friday, Michigan consumer sentiment for March. That is going to be the next big data point after the data we get tomorrow, which is PPI and retail sales. And you really want to see those inflation expectations. If inflation expectations go up, that's not going to be good. Now that banks have started to collapse, you should see inflation expectations going down, and that should be something the Fed could ultimately look towards and say, yeah, inflation expectations going down, we're probably going to see a lot more deflation due to these banks ultimately going bankrupt, guys. So there you have that. You do have some smaller earnings throughout this week as well, so be on the lookout for that. Certain sectors could be affected, but not really a market wide kind of thing. Now, on a technical basis, this looks promising. You are holding up at that 450 level. AMC currently down to $4.55 per share, so about 5 cents higher than this key level. And you can see we broke to that at one point, hitting a low of $4.30 at one point today, retracing back up to that level. And I don't think after all of the red that we have seen recently, you continue to see more red in AMC's chart. I don't think this is just going to be a bleed down, to that $3 range. I do expect to get a bounce from here, obviously, and to subsequently make your way back to about $5 per share pretty shortly here. Now, we were still at these levels January 11th, so keep that in mind. You're not at the lows. You were just at these levels like 2 months ago, right? So I do think when you look at it like that, you're more likely to see that bounce to at least $5 per share. Now, if you look at this downtrending line, I called this out in the last video as well. You're fighting it right now. You're fighting at that level, so you're technically under it just by a little bit, like literally a couple pennies here, about 2.5 pennies it looks like. So we'll see by the last couple of minutes here if you can get above that level. That's going to be good. It's going to mean you're still in an overall bullish uptrend, that you're still holding up above that long-term downtrend line. That would be very good. Ultimately, you want to get back up to about $6 per share here. We're going to have to see, though, like I said, how analysts take this, where people assign probabilities that this vote will or will not go through, essentially, come April 27th, come the actual day of court. If people start to decide, there's a pretty low chance that this is going to follow through, well, people are going to start looking at AMC a little bit more bullishly, and those shorts that still are 24% short on AMC as an overall number of the float, then you could see them start to get a little bit worried. You could start to see them close out of some of those short positions or hedge out those short positions, which all of that leads to bullish, activities with AMC. Volume is on the higher end today. Looks to be about 60 million, and I think that's probably going to continue. I think tomorrow could actually be a big volume day, as well as the rest of this week as well, given the option expiration that we are seeing. This is the biggest option expiration that you have seen in a very long time, guys. So there is that information. Not too much else to actually add. Like I said, you want to see if there's new developments within the banking sector. And that could be big. What has kind of stoked some of these fears today in the markets, especially the second half of the markets, pretty much steeply going down, is partly this, and it correlates pretty perfectly. A Russian jet downs U.S. Reaper drone over the Black Sea. A Russian fighter jet downed a U.S. drone operating over the Black Sea on Tuesday, U.S. European Command said in a statement. Prior to the collision, 2 Russian aircrafts harassed the drone, the U.S. said. The U.S. called the incident part of a pattern of dangerous behavior by Russia. So it's somewhat unclear if a Russian jet went down too. It's a little black and white there, if they was shot down, if they collided, and that did start some of the fears that we have seen the second half of the trading day today. You definitely want to watch to see if that does continue. As of right now, though, markets up 1.5% for the NASDAQ, 1% for the S&P, but it is not even close to a risk on kind of day in the market. So that is pretty much going to do it for this video. Not too much else to actually add. Pay attention to the next video. We're going to be going over the specifics of this lawsuit that is going to be brought forth in the courtroom on April 27th. And once you hear those actual litigations, you don't have to be a financial analyst. You don't have to be a detective to realize AMC was in the wrong here. And this vote at least should be re-voted on. So it's going to be very exciting. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.